What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham Chias and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today's edition is going up a number of days late. It should have gone up on at least Tuesday or Monday. It's going up way later than it should have, just because this past week has been incredibly busy. I thought because I had the week off from school because of the holiday, that it would be a lot easier to get stuff up. That has been the exact opposite. So, for example, this takeover, or rather this episode of WWE Chronicle aired last Saturday after takeover. I only just got the chance to watch it on Thursday, the morning of Thanksgiving. Today's Saturday. I didn't get the chance to review it until Saturday, so it's been a crazy fucking week. I'm hoping to have this review up today, and then my review of WWE 365, the AJ Styles episode, up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that if I can review it today as well and get it up tomorrow. But nonetheless, this was a great edition of WWE Chronicle. Well worth the wait for me. I've been waiting all week to watch it. Definitely paid off. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't already, check out the other episodes from WrestleMania weekend and SummerSlam weekend, focusing in on Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe respectively. Two great episodes. Essentially what Chronicle does, it's a lot like WWE 24, but it looks at a certain period of time. So, like for Nakamura, I think it focused on, like maybe from when he either debuted up until WrestleMania weekend, or it looked at, I think from maybe the Rumble to WrestleMania 34 when he went for the WWE Championship against AJ Styles. For Samoa Joe, I think it went from WrestleMania to SummerSlam when he focused on, or when he went after the WWE Championship. So for Dean Ambrose, I think it is from like big pay-per-view to big pay-per-view. So I think for Nakamura, it was Rumble to Mania. And then for Survivor Series weekend, we had one on Dean Ambrose, focusing in on his return right before SummerSlam in August to Survivor Series weekend, where he wasn't a part of it, mind you. He was not even at Survivor Series, but he has been a focal point of WWE programming in the months since, so I thought this was a great topic to do it on. So a lot of it was kept in kayfabe. I think I'd have to go back and watch the Nakamura and Joe ones, which I did not review here on the channel. Those aired first on YouTube, which is why I didn't talk about them here on Network and Chill. Usually I only talk about stuff that airs on the network, aside from obviously like Total Divas and Total Bellas and shit, and that stuff. There's no new episode, by the way, of Total Divas this week. Those will be back next week. The Season 8 finale will be airing on Wednesday. My review should be up on Saturday for next week, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the other installments of WWE Chronicle first aired on YouTube, which is why I didn't talk about them. So I'll probably go back and review them at some point. They were great, but I want to go back and do a full-on review of those respective specials. But nonetheless, what was I going to say? With the other specials. Oh, I'm not sure if they were kept in kayfabe or not. I honestly don't remember, but this one, a lot of it was kayfabe, but that didn't really take away from it for me. I thought, the characters involved with Ambrose, specifically Rollins and Reigns, and even Renee Young all played their roles well. I thought they had a great part to play in this respective special on WWE Chronicle. Ambrose obviously being the subject of the story here, and showing the kind of character evolution for him, where he goes from returning as a member of the Shield back in August, and what kind of goes through his mind, and what kind of, what went into the evolution of his character from SummerSlam weekend to Survivor Series weekend, when he turned heel on Seth Rollins about a month ago, left Roman Reigns after he, got diagnosed with leukemia or whatever it was. And obviously here we are with Dean Ambrose over Survivor Series weekend. Now he's going into his feud with Seth Rollins over the Intercontinental Championship. So the whole purpose of the special, aside just from to get in the head of Ambrose, like for Joe and Nakamura with their specials, for Joe it was to become WWE Champion at SummerSlam. For Nakamura it was to become WWE Champion at WrestleMania 34. For Dean Ambrose, he's not even involved in a big match at Survivor Series. They probably knew that when they started recording on him, when they started doing the special on him back in August and following him around with the cameras. But they knew that he would play some sort of important role at this pay-per-view, or at least this time in WWE, because again, he was nowhere to be seen at Survivor Series a few short days ago, last weekend. But he still has been a very important puzzle piece on the Raw brand in recent months. But even before the special starts, they kind of show Ambrose going off on the cameras following him, which comes as no surprise, just because Ambrose is a very private person. We haven't really seen too much like this, like a special like this on Dean Ambrose before. I know we had the Stone Cold podcast with Ambrose, which I'm not sure if I reviewed here before. I don't think so. I'd have to go back and watch it. I feel like I did. I don't remember. But it wasn't good. I think it was the last Stone Cold podcast they ever did because it just was not fucking good at all. Ambrose really didn't show another side to him that other people know exists, like that, that personal side, get emotional. He's a very, very dry personality, very cookie cutter type person, but he's really not at the same time. Like if you kind of dig deeper, you can find that inner Ambrose, and I thought we kind of got that here. So he kind of goes off on the cameras when they first start rolling here about like, oh, I'm not going to tell you what you want me to say and blah, blah, blah. And again, a lot of this is kept in kayfabe, so he does. Like there's, at one point, he's on the fucking phone with Seth Rollins, which he's not, saying like, oh, yeah, you didn't care about me being on the sidelines for like 8 months, but whatever. Obviously, it's all kayfabe. The phone call probably didn't even exist, probably wasn't even happening. But nonetheless, Ambrose just kind of goes off on the cameras talking about, right before he, I think it was before he returned to Raw, or right upon his return to Raw. I don't remember, but it was around that time. He's like, don't follow me. I'm not going to say what you want me to say. And it kind of goes full circle because he brings that up at the end of the episode too. So anyway, so to start off the special, he recalls his elbow injury from around the time of TLC 2017, which was, I remember, sometimes the TLC pay-per-view falls in the month of December. The last couple of years, or at least in 2017, it fell in the month of October. So he had been injured dating back to October, which I think was the report, which was, I think, believed by many news sources back in late last year, that he got hurt around TLC, that TLC match with The Shield and Angle, or whatever, Kurt Angle, versus Braun Strowman, The Miz, Kane, and The Bar. So that was a while that he was hurt for, because he didn't leave. He didn't, take time off until like fucking December. And he didn't look that good in that time period either, which kind of sucks because the Shield got back together around TLC, so they were together for about a month or two, and then Ambrose's injury kind of cut that short. So he was hurt, and he was working hurt for a while, and he talked about how he knew he was hurt like immediately, and he thought it would fix itself, and obviously it didn't, and he had to take 9 months off to rehab that injury. So he goes back to his old training facility, I think around where he lives, and he likes to remember where he came from. We get Glitter and Gold playing here by Barnes and Courtney. I know there's another song by them that they've used before, that WWE's used before. I don't know what it is, but maybe for a pay-per-view theme or something. But yeah, that song plays here. Ambrose goes, I hope everyone knows that they better be ready when I come back, because I'm going to be ready to come back, blah, blah, blah. Then he talks about wrestling just in general and how it allows you to be as wild and as nasty as you want it to be. And he kind of needs that release because he has all this pent-up inner aggression, inner intensity, inner frustration that he can just kind of let out there when he goes inside the ring and wrestles. And he can't have that until he's fully recovered and ready to go. He also talks about how he couldn't ride a bicycle for like 9 months, which, I mean, I lie when I say we haven't had a special on Ambrose like this before, which we kind of have. I think they did something on him, not specifically just him, but also him, Rollins, and Reigns leading up to SummerSlam and what all three Shield guys were up to. I mean, that was a while ago. I can't remember. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was about 4.5 years ago. But yeah, Ambrose was, he was like training at the time. He was running around the fucking desert. And that's what we had here with Dean Ambrose. And he talks about, I couldn't ride a bicycle and I couldn't do this or that, which if you know Ambrose, obviously that's a big deal because the guy loves to work out and enjoy life, enjoy the environment, whatever. He talks about how he wasn't scared for surgery because he didn't know how bad it would be. He wasn't really scared about it, but it was the first time that he really felt that his body was in danger. Like, Ambrose has never really been hurt before. I'm not sure about on the independent scene, but he's never really been like seriously hurt. Maybe like a few minor injuries here and there. But at least during his time on the main roster, I cannot recall a single time he took time off for an injury. So this was the first time. I'm not sure if he thought he was going to die or anything, but he did talk about it either in an interview. He might have said it here and I just missed it. But he has said before where I think there was a chance he could have died if the injury either wasn't addressed or the surgery went wrong. I don't know if it was here or elsewhere, but he did talk about that at one point. But I'm just talking about the beginning of the process. He thought that, for the first time his body really felt like it was in danger, like he was seriously hurt, that he knew he would be out for a long time if he didn't get better. This is where the fucking phone call comes in that I talked about. The aforementioned phone call to Seth Rollins, where he's like, I've been out for 8 months, but it's okay. I know you don't really care, blah, blah, blah. He's not really on the phone with Seth Rollins. That's just exposition and planting the seeds for what would happen later on in the special on Raw after Roman Reigns announced his leukemia diagnosis. But anyway, so he talks about living for moments in the ring, and he feels a lot of emotions before he comes back, which, again, is weird. He's feeling a lot of emotions. He's excited. He's nervous, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure he didn't say. I don't think he says that. He just kind of says, there's a lot of emotions. I can only assume that's what they are. At the same time, though, he comes back, and I guess I'll talk about this in a second. He comes back, but he doesn't really react at all. Like, it's typical Ambrose. He's like, it's back to business as usual. It's fine, which is really weird. So, anyway. He says he would not change anything about his indie run. He did a lot of hardcore shit during his indie days. He would not change a thing about it, which is what I like to hear. He has no regrets. Sometimes you just got to live life. He wants to feel stuff, he says. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Some of it is a lot of, some really dumb stuff that he did on the independent scene, but he makes a good point. You're just going to do what you want to do, and sometimes your body just wants to live, and if taking a fucking steel tack to the back is what makes you live, then to each their own, I guess. So he waits in the bus for his Raw return, kind of waiting for her to be called into the arena. It was one of those type of deals where he's not even backstage. He's just waiting in a bus all day, like a la the Royal Rumble or something. And then he wishes he could have that every night. That type of isolation where he's in somewhere by himself. He's not backstage with the rest of the roster. He wishes he can kind of be by himself every day before he goes into every show. Kind of gets his mind right. So before he goes out to return in the middle of the ring, he greets Seth Rollins. We see him interacting with Vince, who's clearly happy to see him back. Roman Reigns, who comes across as awesome in this special. For anyone who hates Roman Reigns, hopefully you should know this by now, but the guy is an awesome dude. He is really funny on this special. So he comes back, gets that big pop. There's a lot of photo shoots afterwards, and it's back in the swing of things. He starts doing the photo shoots and the promos and fucking everything. The night of his comeback. Then we see him hugging and kissing Renee backstage. And then he's like, I don't really have much to say. It's back to business after returning. So that's Dean Ambrose for you, a man of a few words. And then we see a tour of, he does a bit of a small tour of Las Vegas with Renee Young. I'm not sure if they say this, but I'm pretty sure they live there because I think that's where they got married, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure they live in Vegas. He's from around there. I think he's from Ohio, but I don't know. But we see him touring Las Vegas because I'm sure that's where he's from, so it's convenient for him. It's a pretty cool spot. Anyway, so he helps Seth Rollins win back the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. He talks about using the pain from his recovery as fuel to be back in that ring and taking out the rest of the roster and focusing in on his goals. Then we see the Shield reuniting the night after SummerSlam, which was an amazing moment. One of my favorite Raw moments all year. Roman Reigns talks about the Shield's progress from where they started as a group, not really being any sort of not really having an established identity when they first came together as the Shield, and now they're all megastars on their own, and even together when they reunite for moments like this. Then we see Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre attack them all the very next week when Braun Strowman went heel. Then we see them touring Japan. He says he loves wrestling in Japan. Then he talks about the strength and bond of the Shield, that friendship that Roman, Rollins, and Ambrose all have, which really kind of packs a punch later when we see him turn on Seth Rollins. But it's really emotional stuff. You could really tell that not only inside the ring, but outside the ring, these guys are great friends. And we really see that here with the clips they show of all these three guys kind of bonding outside the ring. He talks about having the feeling that this is going to be the last time they ever tour together. Not the only tour, but like the last tour in Japan that they're going to have together as a unit, which he would not be wrong about. Which I'm not sure if they knew at that point if he was going to be turning heel, but probably, which is why he said that. So he kind of goes out there and lives every moment like it's his last. So the heels get inside Ambrose's head when Ziggler says, "Oh yeah, you're the weak link of the Shield," and that bothers Ambrose. He's like, "Oh, there's so much stuff to think about. I'm back on bodyguard duty, but the Shield is so important. I got to stick with them." So again, they're planting the seeds for the turn here, which again, it's all kayfabe, but it's cool. I thought it was a cool way to kind of build up to what would happen at the end of the special here. And he talks about how he has a certain window for the things he wants to do, and he can't really do them while he's with the Shield. And there's really not much longer. He's getting older. He's been in the business for a while. He doesn't have that much longer to do the things that he wants to do, and he doesn't know if he can do them while he's still with the Shield. He talks about what he thought of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins when he first met them. He was asked about that at like a Q&A signing. He said they had chemistry instantly, just right from the get-go. They arrive in Australia for WWE Super Showdown last month. He talks about wanting a tank and mentioning Rusev. He's like, didn't Rusev enter on a tank? Where's our tank? Yeah, he makes a good point. Rusev did indeed win, lose, or draw that night at WrestleMania 31. He did come out on a tank. And then he was buried 6 feet under after that. But the guy did come out on a fucking tank. Again, like I said, he mentioned it again here, but he looks at every night as, in the ring as his last. He goes out there and wrestles like it's his last match every single time. He talks about how the Shield 6-man matches, 6-man tag team matches are always an attraction, which they are. And they had a great match at Super Showdown with the Shield, Strowman, Ziggler, McIntyre. And he talks about entering the Eye of the Storm, which I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but like he comes back from injury and then he's put in these situations where it's not really his fight to fight. He talks about that a lot in this special, how he's like, this wasn't really my fight. Why am I here? I'm doing everyone else's dirty work, blah, blah, blah. He talks about coming so far from his injury and his goals going forward. He's got to leave the past in the past. And that, kind of hinting at the Shield being a thing of the past. Comes to October 8th, 2018. He wonders if this is going to be the last time that they're together, that they're doing stuff. Like, he doesn't really know when the last time is going to be. And this was before Roman's diagnosis, unless they filmed this after the fact. So the timing of this was pretty scary. But again, like I said, he talks about knowing that it's not his fight. Why am I here? I feel like people are taking advantage of me. They're taking me for granted, blah, blah, blah. So then, not that night, but like a week or two later, Roman Reigns announces the return of his leukemia. And we see Ambrose reacting outside. He's not crying like Rollins was, but he's obviously impacted by it. He's obviously affected. He's really sad to see his friend go down with leukemia. And that he won't be on the road with him anymore. He doesn't know what to do. He talks about his friendship with Roman Reigns and how close they are. And he even outright says, I'm going to have to struggle without Roman Reigns here through life. I'm going to have to struggle through life without Roman here. And that really devastates him. And the only way he knows how to react, in the ring anyway, in storyline, is going out there, winning the Raw Tag Team titles, and then betraying him. Betraying Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns technically, but largely Seth Rollins because, Roman's gone by this point. Then he goes off on the fans while he's sitting outside. He talks about, I didn't do anything, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, he didn't say what the fuck, but he's like, I owe you nothing. I'm doing this for me. Where were you guys when I was out injured? Like, the whole typical thing. But, it just goes to show how great and how comfortable of a heel Dean Ambrose is when it comes to stuff like this. And he talks about how, I didn't plan on it. I didn't think it was fun. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. It just had to happen. And then Seth Rollins demands an answer out of him, which Ambrose does not give. And then he attacked Seth Rollins in the weeks that followed. He's like, you don't know anything about me. And then he says, I don't owe anyone an explanation. I apologize for nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that was it. That was WWE Chronicle, Dean Ambrose. I love this. Again, if you get past the kayfabe stuff, which I thought was cool, if you don't like it, oh well. I thought it was nice. I think they did the same thing with Joe and Nakamura, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever. I thought it was a great special. Getting inside Ambrose's head for an hour I thought was awesome. We don't really get to see that all that often with this guy, so it's a cool sneak peek behind the scenes of the lifestyle and, just everything going on inside the head and outside the head. Just the whole lifestyle of of Dean Ambrose, the lunatic fringe, as they call him on WWE TV. But yeah, I thought this was a great special. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Be sure to check it out on the WWE Network, WWE Chronicle with Dean Ambrose. And be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Like I said, I'm hoping to get my review up of the AJ Styles 365 special here on the YouTube channel tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.